So I'm going to start doing something new. I'm going to start giving my experience at concerts I go to, since I go quite frequently. Um, so I have all the experiences like on my phone, so I'll be reading through that during the video. So if I pause, sorry, but I'm looking for more things to say. But I want to do this in case maybe someone didn't go to that concert and wanted to find out what it's like or anything you may think of. So I'm going to start with the first kind of rock concert I ever went to, which was Warped Tour in 2012. I went to Warped Tour on June 30th, 2012, in San Antonio, Texas, at the AT&T Center. It was my first Warped Tour and my first actual rock concert. So I kept begging my dad, and he bought me tickets. And my friend liked the same music as me, and so she asked, and she got tickets, and so we went together. My dad took us. So we made the 2-hour drive down there, and as we were driving to find a parking spot, we saw the Falling in Reverse tent, and Falling in Reverse was both of our favorite bands, and so we started freaking out and screaming like, we see it. And so we parked and we went to the Feed Our Children tent, I think it was called, or Help the Children tent, and we gave our 3 cans of food, and we went to and we got cut the line passes to skip the general admission line and get in faster. It started raining while we were in line, but I mean, it made the day humid and hot, so that was wonderful. But we finally got in to the venue, and we kind of waited for my dad to go get a schedule, or not a schedule, a map, or yeah, it was a schedule. And so we had to wait by a tree, and we heard bands start to play, and we started freaking out because we're like, we don't want to miss our bands. And so finally, after we freaked out, he returned, and we ran further into the venue, and we got to a place where we could look at the schedule and put it into our phones so that we could have the meet times and the show times all planned. So then we went to the AP tent, where we got online and we bought both of us bought a 1-year subscription to Alternative Press magazine, and we also got a cut the line pass to meet any band that was signing at the AP tent that day. So it turns out Sleeping Sirens and Falling in Reverse were signing at the tent that day. So she was a fan of Sleeping Sirens, and I was a fan of Falling in Reverse, so it worked out well. I also ended up getting a free Let's Cheers to This Sleeping Sirens record. And when we met Sleeping Sirens, I had them sign it, even though I wasn't really a big fan of them. I had just gone into this music, so I wasn't really, I didn't really know much of the bands. So we went looking around at the tents and getting, looking at merch that we want to buy. And so we got in this big line for snow cones while my dad went to go look for the Pierce the Veil tent so we could see if they were having a signing. So we went and got our snow cone, and it was horrible, but we ate it anyway. And so we sat on the ground on the burning asphalt of the parking lot, and we sat down and ate while Anti-Flag played. We sat next to one of the main stages because Pierce the Veil was on next. After we finished our snow cone, we got in the crowd, and listened to Anti-Flag play their last song. And where we were standing, my dad pointed over and he's like, "Are you guys sure you want to stand there?" And I'm like, "What?" And I looked over. There was a mosh pit right next to my friend, so we moved quickly because there was a bunch of adults in the crowd, and we were just, no. So once Anti-Flag ended, my friend pulled me to the very middle of the crowd. We were about 30 feet from the stage, and she was determined to stay there, so I stayed there with her so we wouldn't be split up. We ended up being split up as more people move in and everyone pushes in, and it was hot and it was overlapped shoulder to shoulder. There were people smoking weed in front of me. It was a horrible environment to be in. But I mean, and I wasn't even that big of a fan of Pierce Vale either. So, all of a sudden, Pierce Vale came out, and the crowd started moving every which way, and I was struggling to stay on my feet, and finally I fell on top of like 5 other girls who fell in front of me, and I scraped my knee on the asphalt, and I was struggling to get up. I was like pushing them down to get up, and then this guy reached over and pulled me up, and then I turned to my dad, and I was hyperventilating, and I was crying, and it was horrible. Turned to him and said, I need to get out. So he pulled me out, and I sat on the ground under a tent for drinking like chugged half a bottle of water. My friend walked out a few minutes later. She couldn't handle the crowd either. We went to the back of the crowd and watched Pierce Vale play one song, and then we left to go somewhere else. So I went to the Flying Reverse tent while she went to the Sleeping Sirens show. Again, I wasn't a big fan of Sleeping Sirens, so I didn't go to watch them. I just kind of like hovered around Flying Reverse's tent and just kind of watched them sign and took pictures. So, but so then finally so we went to, there was a water slide they had set up. And so I just kind of slid down it in my clothes, and it was fun. I did it like once or twice and got wet and cooled myself off. And then I went to go stand in line for Flying Reverse to meet them. We were about 4th in line because of our cut the line pass, and we got there like super early. And I was like freaking out, and I'm like, I want to yell something at them. My friend's like, no, stay cool. And so I did. And then they rounded the corner, and they had to stop right in front of me to go behind the table. And I was like freaking out mentally, and I started squealing a bit actually. So they said, so then the line started moving, and Derek was in a wheelchair by this time. So the lady running the tent was like, don't forget Derek, or don't forget the guy in the wheelchair. And I was like thinking in my head, like, I'm not gonna forget him, whatever. So I handed him my shirt, and he signed it, and then it went down to Jackie, and then it went down to Ryan, and then Ronnie. And I the whole time I was smiling like really big and creepily, because I was trying not to cry, because I was so overwhelmed and everything, because they're my favorite band, and it was my first time meeting them. And so I had all these things I was going to say, but I was speechless, so all I did was smile. And so I kind of smiled at Ronnie, and I think he was kind of creeped out by me, because I looked really creepy, and so he just kind of smiled at me and looked back down. And then I went to Ron, and he smiled at me and waved. Then I grabbed my shirt, turned around, and just started bawling into my shirt, brought the shirt up to my face, and walked back to my dad, and my dad got that on video. So all my Warped Tour videos from 2012 are on YouTube. So I'll put links to that in the description. I'll add a picture of my shirt at the end of the video. Possibly. I might. And then, so yeah. I cried for about 5 minutes after that. So we went to go get pizza, and I couldn't really eat because I was still super happy. And so my friend ate her pizza and mine, and then she went to sleep because she had Monster, and so she was super tired. She was starting to crash. So she slept for about 30 minutes before we woke her up, and we're going to go head over to the main stage to go see Flying Reverse. And she said she didn't want to. She just wanted to go home because she was tired. And we're like, no, you're staying for at least Flying Reverse, then we'll go home. She's like, okay. And so my dad and I go to the crowd, and she goes in a corner and sleeps. And then like 5 minutes before Flying Reverse is going to come on, she comes back to us. And we see Flying Reverse, and we had a great time. He brought Charlie out on stage, his dog. And the set list was I'm Not a Vampire, Tragic Magic, Raised by Wolves, Sink or Swim, Good Bad Graceful, and Good Girls Bad Guys. And The Joining Me Is You, finally. I don't know, it was my first time seeing Flying Verse, and I was so happy, and I loved it, and I still love it. Still love watching them. I love the energy that they bring, and yeah. And Ronnie Radke's really good live, so whoever said Radke isn't good live needs to be slapped. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what they're on, because Flying Verse is awesome, Ronnie is awesome. It's just, there's a reason they're my favorite band. So yeah, and I love Warped Tour, and yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy this. I have a couple more to do that I'll probably post soon. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later. Bye. Feel free to post your if you went to Warped Tour 2012, feel free to post your stories in the comments.